Great. Welcome to the Thursday, September 8th, 2022 Library Trustees meeting. We're going to go out of order this evening. We have some public participation. So welcome, Anthony.
Welcome. Well, thank you for having me. I wanted to take the opportunity to really get out to some of the boards to say hello, see how we can support you in the town administrator's office. One of the things that we've been doing, which I think has been helpful to Sam and it's been helpful to me certainly, is Sam and I are meeting, when I'm meeting all my department heads every other week. So this has been our second time, third time, but it's been great. And and I want to share, some of what I've witnessed with Sam is that he really comes well prepared. He provides that report that he gives to you, which is super helpful. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but it's very informative. We go through all the issues with the library, how I can help him, what services he might need. We talked about supporting the additional hours for the assistant director position. That's really important. So it's super helpful. And I think, I don't know if Sam feels the same way. And it's that connection. One of the things that I like to break down is the silos and the barriers that we all exist in this town. And I think the more that we do things together and work together, there's nothing we can't achieve. I always tell staff, we're stronger together. When we're not together, that's when we're just not going the right direction. So things going well. I've been super impressed with Sam's preparation for my meetings, which doesn't happen with everyone. So I want to pass that on because I think it's important information for the trustees to know. He works hard, and I appreciate what he does. So, but this is an opportunity for you guys too. If you have any questions, I'm here. I'm happy to answer them. Anything you want to know what's going on?
I do as treasurer. So there's a lot of movement happening in the finance treasurer department. I'm not so sure, but there's a set of these accounts that I ask for every month. And I emailed like 3 different people, and then they forwarded it to 2 more people. And it's I would just like to know who I need to ask for this kind of information.
So have you emailed the finance director? All right. So.
Yeah, because I know, so Alicia, Steve, Michelle, Kim. I mean, there were 4 people involved in getting 4 numbers today.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you get your answer eventually?
Yeah, you speak on, so I feel like there's
we're just wondering where that's going, who's going to be kind of the go-to person to ask about this.
So feel free to send stuff to me in my office, and I'll make sure that it goes to the right person and they can get an answer. You'd be surprised sometimes if I'm CC'd on something, how quick people will respond to it. So, but you can send it to me right now, but we're kind of still sorting through the finance department. We've been doing interviews for treasurer. We hopefully have a second interview set up for next week. That's somebody that had a good first interview, so that's good. We're also hiring a financial analyst, so there's a lot of movement that's going on. Not to mention the accounting function is going to go up to the 3rd floor across from my office, so the finance director will be right across from me. So in the meantime, send anything to me, and I'll make sure that you get the answers. But it's a little chaotic right now. They're kind of scrambling, and we took Steve annuity out of retirement to come back. So
we appreciate everyone's help, and the fact that they got us the numbers in the end was awesome. Yes, we definitely noticed that there's transition happening, and we just want to make sure we're asking them.
And it'll probably be like that for the next month. So feel free to send stuff to me until we get situated.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I would just, I would just like to, I think that I speak for the whole board when I say that we really appreciate how you foster collaboration within the town. And I think that goes so along with, Sam's goals for the library. And it's been really wonderful to partner with Sam and kind of follow your lead in that regards. Just in the past, I guess we met 2 months ago, Kimberly, Sam, is that right? 2 months ago. So in that time, we've had a really great collaborative meeting with this COA to work on a program that we have across with the library. It's been great. The superintendent, Punji, was fantastic in giving us some resources to let us get into the events and get some things worked out maintenance wise. we've been working with conservation on a couple of programs, which has been really, really great. Parks and Rec has been a really nice partner, and we've been able to share resources, some extra stuff for them to help them set up. So it's been really nice just to be good neighbors, and we appreciate your leadership and kind of supporting that within the town, and we're so happy to be part of that piece. And I think the one thing that's kind of come up for us is we're wrapping up the building project, although is it ever fully wrapped up?
It's never fully wrapped.
Never fully wrapped
Yeah.
up.
This is their baby now.
Yes.
Yeah, and I've been called, from Council on Aging to kind of visit. They're hoping to be building in the future and more experiences. I'm wondering if there's any thought of, as Littleton continues to grow down the road, having kind of a building services manager, like over the town. I know
I had- You
Yeah.
jumped in at the
Katrina.
beginning of the meeting.
Katrina, she's the new facilities. director.
So my update later tonight is to walk you through some of these things that I've been advocating for, but Anthony, I have to say, has been very receptive
Yeah.
to listening to my perspective, Sam's perspective, all the experience we've done. You guys are part of that one. You're definitely part of that.
They threw me in.
Sharing that experience.
To wrap up the building stuff, and I'm like,
She was our one.
great to have another person, and I totally respect budget things. So I'm just curious if that was part of like when you think of the town's, 5-year, 10-year projection out, and all the growth that's happening in town. Do you see that as potentially something out there?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you for the cookies and the note. It was very much
Oh,
appreciated.
you're welcome. Thank you for the help.
Yeah.
It's
Nice.
it's been a journey, and it's again, we really appreciate the fostering of just community, because it could be really siloed, but when it's not, it just makes for a better community for all the residents, and that's what
It really does. And yes, and so we are thinking about the facilities. We in the last, less than 10 years, or maybe about 10 years, we brought on a police station, a fire station, a new library, new alumni field, and we're gonna have a new senior center too. We're investing this, you're investing as residents, investing this type of money. We really need to make sure that we take care of those precious assets that we're building. So, one of the requests that's gonna go before town meeting that I'm recommending for them to move forward with is a facilities director, because I think it's really important to make sure that we maintain the building to this condition. Katrina knows, I walk in sometimes, I'm like, Jesus, Sam knows, why is this mark on the wall? I get a little crazy with that, right? Because I want it to be as beautiful as it was when we opened the door, and I want it to stay that way, When I saw the grass wasn't cut out front, Katrina, I was on the phone and said, get that library grass looking perfect, even though not much grass, whatever's there, let's cut. So I'm kind of a stickler for that, and it's something that, yes, we even talked about once we bring on the senior center, which, I love the synergies of the library, that it's just gonna be a nice little cultural center. We talked about needing janitorial. We have one person that handles all the buildings right now.
It's amazing.
He's great. George is fantastic. He's painting for me, and it takes 2 weeks because he only has an hour and he can paint a little section and he has to go. So, but we need more attention to the buildings. It's not Katrina's job. It's not your job. It's even Sam to some degree. He's not. I'm not an expert in facilities. So yeah, that's something that I think is important, that we look at facilities and probably another janitorial staff down the line.
Is there any way we can help you advocate in that though?
I think that there's pretty good support for it. Coming to town meeting and supporting it would be great. But I think that both FinCom and certainly the select board realize that we've invested a lot of money that we need to take care of these. So I think that's a position that they recognize really needs to be funded.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It has been nice to hear that support coming out of the select board meetings, and I know they're talking with FinCom
Monday.
so this I'm sure will come up too, but it's been good to hear that awareness and support is not just for our building, but all of the buildings we have.
They're beautiful buildings. Everything that we do has been really first class, and I'd like to stay that way for a long time.
We'll get there one day.
We get.
We won't have to be.
Any other
much longer.
questions? Any other questions? Doesn't just have to be about library stuff. Feel free. I'm here. What do you want to know?
What are you reading currently?
What am I reading?
What's on your to-be read?
I'm reading town meeting warrants.
Doesn't count.
Yeah, you know, I have 2 books by my dresser, and I haven't been able to pick them up. Even when we went away, I'm like, I want to take this book and crack it open. I need to make more time for myself.
You got vacation coming up.
Vacation coming up. Yeah,
Bring the book.
I'll try to read the book.
If not, we have some you might interest.
It's in this type of work, even on vacations, I still have to take calls and
Yeah.
deal with things. So it's just the nature of this work that I chose to do. You know, towns never close. You know, we're open 365, so 24/7, 365. So we always have things going on. So it is what it is. I enjoy it. I love it. I love what I do. I love the community doing it. People, you are all a great citizens, the great staff is fantastic. So makes work enjoyable.
We appreciate the dedication, and we will not ask for a book review though.
Thanks. When I finish it, I'll let you know.
We'll bring cookies.
All right. I love it. Anything else you want to know? And
Any other input? You've always been open door with me, and I'm very grateful for that, just willingness to chat and talk. And when I was like, I don't know who to contact, you just helped me learn. So I appreciate that. And I'm really grateful you reached out to have this twice a month meeting with Sam, because I do think one of our goals is to improve communication with your departments and other departments, and this is a big step for us. So I really appreciate that
Good.
time of yours.
my pleasure. And again, I am a resource to this board as well. So if you need something, I'm happy to help. Sometimes you can't give me the answer you want to hear, but that's okay. You know, we can't say yes to everything, unfortunately. We'd love to, but we just can't. We have to try to keep that at the same time. But yeah, so feel free to reach out to me at any point, anytime. Stop in the office, you want to say hello, stop in.
And there is a new assistant administrator, who's there, Ryan. So I don't know if
Yes.
you're aware of that change, but yeah, he's in there now. So he wants to stop by.
Yeah.
What's his name? Ryan.
Brian Ferrara.
I met him a couple weeks ago. We spent like 2 hours together. Just
He came and met all the staff, right?
You did, yeah.
It was really nice. I've had conversations with him. He's very nice.
He's a good guy, very experienced, and he's a good partner.
Good. You need one.
Yeah. Anything else? That's it. That's easy.
You get us at the end of like all this tough stuff. Like we just closed the warranty, like things, and we're like looking to look for the fun stuff now.
We're going to mini golf next, I think, right? That's like.
Yeah, mini golf is coming.
Yeah, when is that?
We haven't scheduled it as far as I'm aware.
They were looking at the weekend of April 1st.
Our plan is to make a good town community event, and then hopefully to invite other departments to come have tables and be able to connect as well. So
All right, another thing to keep aware of is that we have PR firm that I have on that we pay for, which entitles us to X number of press releases. So if you're doing something that's really cool, let me know. I'm happy to put the press release out there and get that. We're paying for it. So we're not doing it. We're paying for something that they have. So gladly we'll work with you on that. We've done that with the Cultural Council, Board of Health, and happy to do something with the library. So,
cool.
Thank you.
all right. All right. Thank you. You guys have a great rest of your meeting. I'm going to watch your football now.
Enjoy.
All
You
right.
deserve the time.
Thank you.
Thank you for stopping by.
All right,
Thank you.
everybody, take care. Bye-bye.
Yes. Well, that was lovely. What's happened? While we're here, let's stick with public participation. Is there anyone on the screen? Okay. Moving on, do we have any correspondence? None? All right, minutes of prior meeting. Reviewed. This was from the July 14th meeting.
I did not notice anything when you read it. But typically rely on your brother.
I wasn't there though.
Can't help you this time. Then I moved.
Mira wasn't either. And Chris wrote them. I did not see anything. And so right now here's confirmed.
Then I moved that the trustees vote to approve the minutes of.
Sarah's on her way if you want to include her.
I moved that.
Hello, Sarah. Hello, Sarah. You just missed Anthony, our town administrator, stopped in to chat with us. We're back to minutes. So if you have any comments on the minutes. No. Okay.
Please vote to approve the minutes of Thursday, July 14th, 2022. That's right.
And all in favor?
Aye.
All right, treasurer's report.
Okay, I have your accounts. Okay, the trustee gift account, the MDT gift account, the number is $5,345.17. The building gift account. That's what she sent me today. That looks a lot like July. Per Alicia, $947,000, but $947,532.83. And we got what I believe is the last installment of the state grant money for the year. No, I see it, there's a line item here from Alicia, like $6,860.45.
Nope.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna go back to the finance department. Like,
So let's clear that out.
Yeah, let's take that out because that does seem like the last one's number. So, and I'm not sure if the state one.
Right.
What is it? LIG.
She says that's
That's the state grant, but I haven't even submitted that Harrison.
Right, I was gonna say that.
State grant.
I have no idea where these numbers came from,
Okay.
but they came this morning.
Okay.
So,
Okay,
Yeah, we got that amount. He wants it.
right, that was like the.
okay.
She just gave us
This is
the last
kind of a
one.
problem, but yes.
Well, and with staff turnover, I can understand that they're trying to get it to us quickly. We may not know the numbers we need, so we will go back and
for a while.
we will go back. We'll figure it out.
The gross total that I have, which was pulled by somebody different, is $1,450,561.40.
How did that compare to last time?
That's slightly less.
I think everything went down.
It went down by $47,000, so not just slightly, but yeah.
Yeah, not slightly. We are losing money.
Yeah. I don't know how much of that includes, I don't know if we took anything out in the last 2 months from trust funds, but.
Did we take anything out in the stream? I don't think we did.
And that's just.
I think it's just a software.
And then, no, every column was lower and ending earnings, so it makes sense for the floor.
Kimberly, can you give me that number? Yeah, I will read it, then I'll just send it to you. Okay, that helps. $1,450,561.40.
Unfortunately, the stock market's not a prediction. All right, so you will confirm with Alicia, follow up. So, friends report. Okay. So I was not there, but according to Sarah, the important things to know are that, like we said, mini golf is possibly going to be the weekend of April 1st, and which will include hopefully an adult event serving alcohol. And she said Sam was okay with it, and now the trustees need to approve this. So we don't know what is involved. So if we are serving alcohol, we need to connect through Anthony's office to figure out what the process is. And we will probably take a vote ahead of it, according to the states and a certified vendor. And you know who's a good resource for this? It's Park and Rec. They have done Oktoberfest, they've done other things like this. They may have, they may also be a good information source for this kind of thing.
I've been dropping off stuff to Park and Rec, and I'd be happy to float a question to them.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And report back, unless Mira, you want to.
If you would like to.
I'm dropping off books, so I'm happy to go back to anyone else about them.
I think it would be fun to explore whether we can make that actually happen this year. The town bylaw that where it allowed it went into effect too late for us to do it in the second mini golf, and then the third mini golf was virtual and months later because of COVID. So we haven't had a chance to figure out if that's even feasible.
The timeline might have changed, but I think I heard at one point it was a 6-month process, so that's something to keep in mind.
That's
6 months, because, you know, you would have to make a decision if they want it early April and have people going now. I don't know, it could be, that was a couple of years ago when it first was talked about, so the state could have moved things along faster. No.
I don't know what our town thing is too, so
Yeah.
the bylaw for it. I know our town went through and voted on something, but I think it is a 6-month process. Yeah, so we really need somebody to go full the process. Anthony's office might be able to direct it.
I've seen it go through select board meetings before.
Yeah, they just had one in front of them for there's something on the common, the end of the month.
So I assume Sarah would know this,
Or around that.
yeah, would know that this has to.
I'm not sure she does, because I don't think she's done it.
Okay, so it's like really November, we would have to have this in place in November.
October
For April.
Yeah, I will.
But I mean, Park and Rec would, you know, I'm sure they would know, like, oh yeah, it's, you know, if they've done it before, they could easily answer, like, this is the process and this is how long, you know, just to get it's a good start.
Yeah, I will reach out to Parks and Rec.
Okay, maybe I will touch base with Sarah and Janice and make sure they will.
Yeah, that'd be great. We can get them back in. The last thing I heard, Sarah didn't have a confirmed date yet, so we're aiming for the first, but I don't know if we.
So it says posture, so that's what she wrote. So that's the first thing. And then they've scheduled a book sale for October 14th, 15th, and 16th.
I saw something about dropping off books, and I thought it was that weekend.
So I just spoke to Sarah on the 8th, she was in the room, and so it's those dates, the 14th, 15th, 16th is the sale, and they'll do a book drop off the 2 days before that.
So, yeah. So they'll start setting up on the 12th.
Yeah.
With help from NHS, and accept donations on that Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah.
Which month is that? October. I'm guessing, yeah, Wednesday and Thursday would be the 12th and 13th. Yes. Yes. And then last thing, she said they funded the materials and programming accounts with $4,000 each.
Thank you.
Yes. So you need more? Right now it's sufficient. Okay. It's good, actually. Does that get you programs for the fall? Awesome. All right, any other friends reports?
All
No
the
questions? Okay. When do you know their next meeting? Is it third of this month?
Yes,
Wednesday of this month? Okay.
19.
I think it's a Monday.
Oh,
I'm looking at October, sorry, 21st.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we need to move on to the other programming with this point. Start that process. All right. Building update. So Chris.
Steph's been a rock star. I think that's the main takeaway, and just about everything on the punch list was done. The emergency light issue is resolved, the metal gate issue is resolved, and there was additional concerns that happened when that was being fixed, which is also resolved. Sam's diligence in following up with all this was really essential, and it was really like a Pandora's box. Like as soon as one thing was fixed, it was like, nope, you have lies, and then another thing, another thing. And I noted that Sam has a director's report, so I don't think we need to get into all of it. But Sam was very, very busy. I think is the main takeaway, getting these all done. The filters were replaced, and again, that was just what it's worth. It's not as easy as just replacing filters and getting the equipment here, which was heroic in and of itself. But the building had some parts that were blocking the replacement of the filters once all those pieces came together to even get up there. So that was additional warranty work, which was also done, which was great. It took a lot of coordination throughout the entire town, and the library trustees did send out cookies and thank you notes on behalf, because it was like a whole lot of people helping out in that regards.
Well, multiple departments,
Yeah, multiple departments across.
schools, DPW, George and George more, like,
It's a whole who's who of who's gonna do that.
yeah. And I thank you for doing the cookies and dropping them off.
Oh, absolutely, because that was the least I could do, because Sam was here at like 6 o'clock in the morning letting them in, and then I realized he wasn't tall enough, and then coming back the next day, 6 o'clock in the morning again, and it was a lot, so it was a lot. Baking was the easy part, I think, having to do that piece. The landscaping is closed out, so the issues there were as resolved as they're going to be, and then, we are meeting with conservation next week to talk about how to fix, the hill. It looks like we're probably gonna need to reseed, and what might be more friendly to this environment and also to the pollinators, so there's a good plan going on with that piece of it. The broken window frames, are still in a holding pattern to be repaired, because the replacement window is back ordered, due to just pandemic delays. We're anticipating that'll be done at the end of this month. The children's room light fixture is still en route, and the Tucker furniture is still en route. Sam's really diligent following up with them, but again, pandemic delays, nothing we can do about that piece. New work included the gutters, were added over the staff entrance, and they look amazing. Sam did a nice job vetting a couple of companies, and went with one that was really cost effective and really blends into the building. You can't even see them, and they seem to be working.
in, I didn't realize work had been done.
It's, yeah, it's great.
Does it work?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Staff didn't come out to like a sheet of rain this week.
Okay, so that safety feels really good. The stairs, when we're finished, there were some pieces that need to be redone, and we're watching those to see if there's additional work in that. But so far they seem to be holding up since the work got redone.
And I think that was really nice work. I noticed it recently, I was like, oh, wow, this is great. So,
Sam and I picked the color together, and it was that initial kind of, when they started rolling it out, I'm like, yeah, but then it looks good. We did good. Sam had the confidence going into that decision. I was kind of like, yeah,
These are the colors.
we use a call Katrina because she's on vacation. So, the fob and handicapped entrance is wired and I think all set right now, right?
Yeah.
So that's good functioning. The window shades and YA are ordered, and are they in yet? Not yet. No, but they're gonna be in shortly. The elevator is considered done. We're just waiting for a piece to be finalized, but it passed inspection.
Yeah, so it got a 90-day inspection. They have to come back with the parts to complete it. But,
So we should expect to follow up from them. I'm sure you'll call before the meeting is just to keep checking in, right?
Yeah, Sam's been all over that, which has been great.
Yeah.
And so the two things that are still open, and I think one will just be open for the long term, is as good as it's gonna be at this point until we make some systems changes. The electricity is way more aligned with projections at this point. There's been a lot of reprogramming. Katrina's working really closely with Sam around that piece of it. I don't know if you want to give additional updates there, but we're much more where we expect it to be.
So the July, after we made all these setting changes at the end of June, so backstory, in June, after we realized we were still over projections, even though Viking Controls had changed some things for us, we were still over. So we, LELD has been helping us track, like, on a weekly basis. They send data dumps of electricity usage. And then we tracked it for a few weeks in June, and then at the end of June, had finally gotten in touch with people who could educate us on what changes to make to improve it even more and how to do so. And then I also had talked to David Riley, who's the school's energy consultant and specialist, and also an LELD had come out and helped us too. So giving us ideas what to change to try to bring it closer to production. So we made all the changes at the last week of June, and July was slightly over projection, but much closer than we have been to date. LELD did just dump the month's worth of data for August on me. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but the very first couple of weeks of August were similarly closer to projection, despite the heat. So I'm hoping that it was a hot August, hot and humid August. That system was cranking. We'll see if it held up. Those projections are still closer. We, unfortunately, were battling the weather. So I will be doing those analyses soon.
So it's not, for a while there was concern, like, is it broken or is this forever going to be super high? And I think the answer is no.
There are things we can do to
control it
Continuity, green and
and to
continuity.
learn about it. So we purchased these little hobo monitors, which is what Dave Riley recommended. They're like little, you can put them in different rooms and track, and it collects temperature, humidity throughout every 15-minute intervals, basically. So we can use it to learn how quickly does our building stay at temp for how long? Does it take a long time to cool and heat in the morning? And it's actually pretty consistent all day long, which is great so far for the rooms that I tracked. I'm a little worried about the humidity in the brewery room, but we're still tracking it because I'm sure we were just learning how to use the hobo monitor. So we're tracking around things before we can. There was a select board meeting I came to turn on the system for their meeting because the select board is now having their meetings here. And the HVAC system was short cycling and I could hear it grinding. Thankfully Ed Mullen was here and I was like, I don't know what this is. I don't know how to describe it. And he was like, nope, that's a short cycling thing. And he and I called Brian. So Brian has been back to the HVAC, what's their name? Not Viking Controls, anyway, he went back to the company and be like, this is happening, and no one expected it. And they gave me a response that we didn't believe, and he went back and pushed again. So we're still trying to get information about why it's happening, and what changes we can make to improve not only the system and how it's running, but the control of it so that we have more flexibility. So right now I have the request in via Brian for Viking Controls to add zones, so we can just turn on the meeting rooms on the weekends or when we need to, and then we can do some temporary overrides at the walls instead of having blocked out if things were really kind of off. But with any new building, you have to learn it and you have to learn how to control it and what works. And I do think we're going to continue to learn about it all winter, because last winter was cold, but the system was on high all the time. So there's a lot of things we're still learning. So we'll see. Remember everyone was talking about how loud it was? Has that been better since the building? Yeah, I feel like it's improved since we started all of these. The first day I was making the setting changes, I heard the building quiet. I kept changing things and it got quieter. And I was like, this had to do with our setting. It didn't have to do with all the things they were seeming to be.
So it's all good news and it's good. So we're gonna leave it as an open item.
And this is ongoing and it will be ongoing.
But it's also not broken anymore.
It's not
So I feel like, 4 meetings ago, we were thinking we were going to be bankrupt because of an energy bill, and that's not the case. It's way closer to projections. It's not really spot on with projections. And so now the question is how to continue to operate the building as intended as green as possible. So we're in good shape with that. We're working with Sam on now how to move into maintenance, how to get into a schedule of maintenance for everything. And then the other open item, which is kind of out of our control at this point, is the electric car charger. The newest email I saw was a 20 to 40 week delay to get the part that needs to set it up, which I'm kind of okay with because we don't really have a policy set for how to.
We're not doing that. So again, part of my update later is, so as we figured out the HVAC system and the electricity here, and we're trying to get the EV charger hooked up, we became aware that there's 1 meter for the building and it feeds the EV chargers, which would make us the custodians of the EV chargers, not LELT, which is what's happening at the old library site for those. So Anthony, again, was very helpful in pulling together LELD, his office, because his office is the budget for the electricity. And I had a meeting with him and Mark and LELD, and we were sorting out the plan. So the plan is, the quote Randy is going to give us is one where LELD came with a setup where we add a meter to separate EV chargers from the library, so that then they become custodians of the charging, the care custodians, and decide decisions about rate, how to charge it and stuff like that. It's better, which is better. I don't know why it wasn't this way from the beginning. I can't answer that question. I wasn't in on those conversations and no one seems to know, but we have a plan. Randy is trying to source those materials in order to move forward. In that process, there was discussion about
right now there's 2 spots. Should it be more spots, especially with the senior center here and whatever's happening over in town hall, that the discussion was that it would be nice to have the capacity to expand that to 6 spots total over time, but only right now do the 2 spots. So Randy came, he's supposed to be getting us an estimate of adding the meter, hooking up the one, and having the capacity for 2 more meters for 4 more spots. But he is running into this time lag issue where it's 20 to 40 weeks to get the things, and cost may change over that time. So we need an estimate to go forward, but we may need to up that cost over the long run. So this might be a good question with the finance department as we're working at the end of building closing stuff. It could be that we just pay it, we need an estimate so we can even see where it is, to see what the work is like, and so we can figure out where it needs to go. Does that make sense? So,
Sorry.
yeah, I think Randy, getting his estimate will help us decide how to proceed.
Because the last quote was, I think, 3,200 based on my notes. And so until we know what the new quote is, it's hard to say. So we'll just bring that back next time around. We have it. And then the solar panels are still due in the fall, in the next month or so.
Yeah, I haven't seen an update. I know Brian reached out to Vito for an updated timeline, but I haven't seen any response.
They were assuming end of October. Last time I talked to Brian, but we don't have any kind of date or time frame. It won't impact the library's functioning. So as soon as I get back, I'll report back. That is the news that's print regarding the library, that anything that was locked open is closed, or with the understanding like the windows that gentleman's agreement, we're still under warranty until it's completed.
And we are able to continue following up with them if we measure. Great. And Brian did say he wasn't going to abandon us. He's working on our senior center project. So when I'm like sitting here trying to get Viking controls, one thing that is outstanding is we requested, based on one of my meetings in July, we requested additional programming time. So an estimate for work to make the zone in the building, add those additional capacities, which we can't do under the current control system. So I haven't heard back from that, and he hasn't either. So we'll keep pushing for that, because in terms of controlling the HVAC usage, that would be one thing that would be helpful to maybe take the next step to get it down lower. So I need those changes made in order to even see if that's feasible to improve. But I do think that's a worthy investment in programming time to give us control over our building the way that we use it. Any other building updates, Sam? Thank you for sticking with that. Well,
Oh, the water behind the beam panel is not an issue. So, yeah, so as you all know, there's, when they moved the gate panel where the key is for the gate, they drilled into the wall and some water came out of the gate. So apparently it's left over from when the building was left open without a roof. As it closed the elements, the water got into the beams. Apparently that's common. I would have thought it would have evaporated by now, but guess not. So according to Brian, according to the contractor, it's fine. Nothing needs to be done. So.
Okay. All right. Let's go to director's report.
So summer reading's over. Diane and Catherine, everybody did a great job. We had a lot of kids. We had over 430 kids sign up, 70 teens, 50 adults. The theme was Beyond the Beaten Path. And we had a bunch of programs that were very well attended, and they're all listed here. I won't go through all of them, but it was really great. Patrons really loved coming to the library. I think it was our first summer reading here, so they all loved it. It was great. Awesome.
The staff did a really great job.
Yeah, they all
Summer
did an awesome job.
At all departments, like, it was fantastic.
Yeah, Catherine got a lot of teams in that, normally wouldn't come, that those numbers are also way up, so.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
I exceeded the number of hours that you can win prizes for. Like max, like.
You maxed out?
Maxed out.
Yeah, Susan does the adult summary,
Yeah.
she does a great job.
I always forget to sign up for adult meetings. It was fun. I just kind of like the online thing and just the different categories and.
And I like the challenges.
Yeah, the
I read things that I would have never have read. So.
All right, next year, guys, hold me to it. I gotta sign up.
I got the new assistant town administrator, Ryan, who was really nice. I gave him a tour of the building, introduced him to the staff. We spent like an hour and a half in the office just talking, getting to know each other. So, really nice guy. Also note the Disability Commission, we talked about the Access for All grants. I went to them looking for some ideas. I think they kind of misunderstood what the grant is about. But so they one of their ideas was to hire a sign language interpreter for meetings. It's a little bit over the scope of what the grant.
Beyond the scope of this grant.
Yeah. So they had a lot of great ideas, but unfortunately they were all beyond the scope of what the grant can do. But I informed them, like they didn't know they can modify sign language. We have a database, rapid languages that teach you sign language. But I told them they could learn sign language that way. Yeah, so I left it with them. We're gonna try to meet again in the future. I told them they didn't have to give me any answers that day. I just wanted to make them aware of the grant, you know, and see if they had any ideas and talk to me in the future.
Thanks for connecting with them. Any programs that you do bring in, we should definitely send to them so they're aware.
We already went over the items that have been fixed.
That's a long list.
I'm working on the ARIS. So the program that I normally input all the data into, had a ransomware attack. And so for the past 3 weeks, they've been down. So the report was actually due like 3 weeks ago, but they extended the time because of this attack. So I'm working on it. It just opened up again yesterday, I think. So I'm gonna work on it and I'll get it to Katrina this time. It's this part of it is just the nuts and bolts, like the circulation status. The financial part is due in a couple of months in October. So I'll get that done sooner rather than later, just in case. Let's see. I went to the select board a few weeks ago. As some of you may or may not know, Helen is planning on retiring in the next 2 months. And Helen works 30 hours a week. She's always liked working 30 hours per week because it works for her schedule, it works for her family. But for an assistant director, it really should be a 40-hour position. So I went to the select board with a memo to basically ask that a special town meeting they increase those hours from 30 to 40. So basically that would be on the town meeting or a special town meeting.
In October. Do we know what date that is? It's November now?
It's November.
It's usually November.
That's usually October.
It's at the end of October, beginning of November. I believe it is November this year. I don't really exactly, we will have to look at hometown.
Yeah, so that view was relatively painless. Looks like they're in support of it. So it's really only $15,000 increase. And that's if we go at the highest step, which
It's unlikely to start somebody at the highest step.
that's unlikely. So normally the town policy is that you go up to step 3, and then anything beyond that is the town administrators sign off.
Was Jenna interested in that at all or no? Did you check with her? She's not. Okay.
So yeah, and at least the next thing Jenna has announced that she will be leaving us. She was offered a full-time position in Burlington. She's been working between here and Burlington for the past few years, and unfortunately, she was offered a position there that she couldn't turn away. So yeah, so she'll be leaving in a week or 2. She's actually out right now. She's sick. She went to Disney World and got sick and she came back. So she's out this week too. But I think she'll be back next week. So if you want to say bye.
Next week's the week. Gotcha.
I'm sure she'll be there. Everybody comes back. Nobody ever leaves.
When I spoke to her, she was like, she's like a YA position. She's
Yeah,
really
it's not
excited
what she
about
really
it.
wanted.
It's like exactly what she wanted. And she said she and Catherine are already talking about how to share
Right.
ideas and materials and things, which was good. It was nice, but we'll definitely miss her.
so HR has posted the position, it ends tomorrow, I believe. So hopefully we'll get a lot of applicants for that. We also I received the applications today for the 2 library assistant positions I had open. So I'm going through those for Catherine and Helen, and we're narrowing down some applicants that we're going to interview, and hopefully we already have interviews set up for next week. So hopefully we'll have those 2 positions filled, and then Jenna's position filled, and then hopefully we'll be first.
They'll stay here for a while.
Town meeting is November.
Oh, I was just,
November first.
November first is a Tuesday.
Which is a Tuesday.
yeah.
I know. I looked 3 times though.
Because Halloween.
Oh,
That would
okay.
make sense. Monday,
Right.
I just did like 2 minutes around. All right. Well, I do think it would be great if we could all attend town meeting to support our library position.
Sam, are you finding any patterns to obstacles to being able to retain folks?
No, mostly it's been, Jenna's been the first person that wanted to leave because of, finding a better job, basically. It's a higher paying job. It's, so for years she's been working both here and Burlington, so she's working like 60-hour weeks. And I think mostly it was, she took it because that was the position that was actually created for her years ago, and for whatever reason she didn't get it. So I don't think she wanted to leave here. I think it's just that, and then everybody else is like whichever. So.
No, just checking, and I don't mean it like, like in a negative way, but sometimes I know when people are leaving, like, it gives me pause to say, like, is it because, there's a cap on hours, or the benefits have been frustrating, or, are there any trends? So again, if it's I guess I'd be curious in future meetings if you see a trend, or if there's something that as we're thinking about, like a 5-year projection, a 10-year projection, is there something we want to look at restructuring to make sure that we're as attractive as possible?
I think that people, the staff really love it here. Even the staff that have left, some of them come back, like Catherine, she worked here years ago, and she came back. With this current batch of applicants for the library assistant position, we have someone that used to work here and wants to come back. So I think it's really just they find new positions elsewhere that maybe give them more hours to do or better pay, but eventually.
Well, the culture is a big deal, right?
Yeah,
Culture's not a question, so that I think if we can give them the full package at some point, and that's, so again, and we don't need to go into today, I know this is where we can end up off topic and like, or here's on the night, which I know we don't want to do, but I would be interested in longer term to like kind of put on an agenda to like, is in an ideal budget world, would we have less people that are full-time, or, and I know there's like town restrictions or things like that, like as we look at doing that, like is more hours kind of a wish list item as you're, talking to staff around things like that.
I think even right now the town is doing a compensation study. So I think that'll also.
I mean, they're doing that right. So so again, not today, but it would be an interesting thing to do.
So I think that definitely fits into retaining people. That was the whole point of the compensation study for the town, is to try to keep great
It's not just the library.
It's across the town.
Across the town.
I think the other thing is I really appreciate whenever someone does retire or plans to leave, we have a conversation about should we ask more hours for this position? Because, Helen's, or the assistant director position, 30 hours, she's doing 2 roles essentially. It just made sense to say, we want this for more. We need it for more. It's not even a want, it's a need for more. The other part, I think your question is really important to keep in mind is we do the, remember Sam's performance objectives this year is to go through all of the descriptions of the position and also to create a 3 to 5 year projection as best we can. So this is that kind of thing that we need to think about. Like in a few years, I need this position to go from 30 hours to 40 or whatever. That's in order to really fulfill the needs of the library. So that fits into that conversation as we need to do that. So, and that is one of your performance objectives for the year.
Okay. The rest is just statistics. Your account is really high this month again. lot of reviews. I think, there's also
The meetings.
programs from where they came from.
Great.
People attending.
I'll check for that.
And then financially, we're doing pretty well this for the fiscal year. We're right on track. As part of the fiscal year. And it's good. Any questions?
I think that we have love to see in a future meeting, again, I realize we always have so many things first, I don't want to do it here, but I'm really curious, and if it's a separate meeting, just with you and me, Sam, so I can get educated. Like, I'm curious, like, you know, the agency through America, which seems to consistently have zero pages, is that something
Yeah, so
required to keep going? And I think some of these we're supposed to have, or have to have, or what have you, and or do we actually care for you to keep playing that data for us if no one's looking at agency through America, you know what I mean? So,
I actually did get rid of agency America because it wasn't getting used.
goodbye agency.
Yeah, and then some of these databases are getting distance that are paid by the state. So
Yeah.
they're not getting used and we don't want to see them on there and have to.
Well, I don't want you to waste your time pulling stuff that, you know, no one's using or that one person's looking at,
I
so.
do think it's especially important for ones we're paying for to have an
Right.
idea of whether we, like you
Right.
just
So,
said,
like,
we're paying for this
agency
one and we're not
wasn't
getting used, so
So,
let's get rid of it. I'm curious which ones are the state paid for ones and which ones aren't, but
Or could you maybe just pull that for notes
Maybe
next
we
time,
can-
like, we start, we're paying for it, and then we maybe just track those in particular, the
Sure.
next couple months, unless people feel differently. Because if it's free, I don't care if people are looking at it or not, I mean, that's.
my question has to do with our scholarship, recipients. Grail definitely needed to wrap up last month.
So they both finished.
They both finished. Glenn wasn't sure he was going to.
They both finished.
That's
Pre-all filled out the paperwork to get her check.
Okay.
From what I understand, she hasn't received it yet, but that's more in the town than us.
Finance department?
And, Declan, I've had a conversation with his mother about some paperwork he had to sign, whether or not he should sign it. I explained why he should. And so it looks like she's gonna sign it, but he should get his check as well.
Okay, so that is, the paperwork is underway to get them all
Yeah, she
squared
had
up.
some tax, information questions that, she was unsure about that. Over.
Great, thank you for being our resource there. I'm very happy they both finished, because
Yeah.
I talked to him early August, he's like, I'm gonna cut my
He
clothes.
was here every morning.
And then I saw him every day.
Every day, he was here in the morning, so. yeah.
He was working,
He was
and
working.
I did appreciate for both of them, like, whenever I saw them, they were both working. Like, they
Yeah,
were
both did a good job.
Sam, can you clarify the volunteer hours, senior, is that Andy's senior program, or is that, what are the senior hours?
So senior hours are senior tax work.
Senior tax voters, okay. And so are we starting to track, books and invite hours, or where are we capturing those?
So Andy has, injured herself, so I don't think she's been doing that as much.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but it would be under volunteer hours.
So if there were volunteer hours, would that be a separate category? Because it's senior teen and scholarship. So where would book and invite hours fall?
It would be its own separate category.
Okay, so there weren't any book and invite this month. Okay, thank you.
So it does sound, I just spoke to Amy about Books and Invite, and she reached out to EHS to see if there's somebody who could help while Andy recovers. Okay. Injure herself on her Book and Invite, right? Okay.
It's just, yeah,
She looked injured.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's not an injury, it's just.
okay. Well, if we can help her, yeah,
This was sure well.
do wish she recovers quickly. Any other directors reports? Thank you, Sam. And I know, Anthony mentioned it earlier, but I actually appreciate getting this kind of information, so thank you for sharing your director's reports with him. All right, so we are on to old business, so the policy review. We have 4 policies that our policy subcommittee have. Hold on. Yep,
So, Chris and Sarah and I met a few weeks ago, and, 4 policies that we have to look at have all been approved by the 3 of us, as well as Sam. We were hoping to kind of, see what kinds of, if you've read them and have any updates, anything like that. In an ideal world, we would, if you liked them, we would vote to approve them tonight. We thought the 4 easiest ones that we still have left, there's some harder ones coming, so. Any thoughts?
First operation is 3 step over to the new part.
It's not, I highlighted that because I wanted to check with Dan, make sure 3 is
So,
still correct, because that's from the past.
It used to be 3. Yeah, talking with some of the staff, they think it should be 4.
Are we able to hold that?
It's always 4 anyway.
It's always 4.
Yeah, so it's very rarely that it's usually 5. Yeah, so with me and how it's so, but yeah, with the new teen room, it should probably be 1, 2 down here, 2 upstairs.
And I didn't understand the second paragraph. So does that mean if you go down to, if you have 4 staff and you go to 3, we call the schools and the police?
I didn't actually understand what the purpose was of that, other than to notify that it's closed for a reason.
Yeah, we would call the police to let them know that we're closed to the public. I'm sure the schools, we call,
So just wouldn't come over maybe?
maybe, yeah.
So it does feel like it's good to spread the word, and if we're calling the schools and just saying, just spread the word that kids can't come here.
Yeah.
Good. I do think we need to have some posting via our email system and our social media system. Oh, hello. Hi. Gary.
That's not sure. Real thing, yep.
Hi. You have a question?
He's in a chat. He's chatting.
Oh, he's chat.
Things not good, right? Yeah, I can't do that.
That's a Virginia, that's not a,
This isn't a.
that's
Invested in.
So I think that I would change that paragraph somehow with the stream teams kind of wordsmithing to know the purpose of this as a communication, like notification. Because I read that, I'm like, are we unsafe? Like, I should have like 2 people, like, something like that. So if staffing falls below, the library will be closed to the public, period. Notification to the town will be made via, police, schools, social media, whatever. And I'm not sure that I would make it via the schools unless, because we've confirmed with Dr. Punchy that he's gonna push that out to the schools. Like, I wonder if it's sufficient to just say we're doing it via social media or via. I would want Punchy to be okay communicating to us.
Yeah, I just feel like that little piece it's in our thing. How often do we go down below staffing? I've never heard of this, but we close for snow or weather emergencies and nothing's here.
And honestly, I think it's more of a proof to the town that we need staffing.
You can actually, I mean, just because we talked a lot about the difference between policy and procedure, because that came up with the guidance for the library's conference. And so I would be kind of comfortable just stopping it will be closed to the public if it falls below minimum and not talk about how that information is going to be necessarily disseminated, because we don't know that for sure.
Or a notification will be made. Like, if the policies that we will notify procedures, how would the notifications, is that distinguishing or?
Yeah.
So we do it that way, and then Sam can kind of work with the town or whoever else. What's that? Okay, that seemed like we're
Yeah.
going in a creepy direction.
Yeah, that was definitely
I've never seen that.
a hacker.
Yeah.
All right.
I need another line.
All right. So what are you amending it to?
Right now I have a minimum of 4 staff members, and when staffing falls below the minimum level, the library will be closed to the public. If we want another line about notification, now's the time to come up with one.
I think just notifying the police is really what we need to do.
Tell us about this when we're meeting public.
Well, that's what I said I was gonna ask Dan about, like,
Okay. Yeah, it's highlighted.
because like, where do they have to get in the workroom also? Right. In the workroom, that was a big question that we were supposed to have.
Public. And the public will be notified.
Well, we're not sure who's notified, right? We don't.
You just want to put a period after police dispatcher.
It's like,
And the remaining staff members will notify the police dispatcher.
It would be great if we could also post on social media.
That's a
Temporarily closed. Yeah.
That would be,
That's a procedure following the policy.
I think the police is also a procedure, but I don't think it's worth
Yeah, I think we're,
getting hung up.
If we can just add any of the public, we'll just close the public.
That would be.
okay, then just put it in the same paragraph. as the Senate bill.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
So
so I
then,
just made the changes of a minimum of 4 staff members must be in the library when it's open to the public. When staff may cross below the minimum level, the library will be closed to the public.
yes.
Yes. Yep. Okay. Do we want to use one at a time or? Okay, so I guess.
so I have one question,
Yeah.
one comment on this, and I think it applies to all of them, but, no offense to you, Sam, I know you're his, but I
Yeah.
think we were trying to use gender inclusive pronouns throughout all of these. So
Yeah.
I see a his on the library director or his,
Yeah, thank you.
and I haven't looked at the other ones, I'm just trying to,
This version.
it's her there. Yeah. I believe is what we used on the past ones.
Yeah, good.
I have some questions about the confidentiality of records, aside from we were giving this information out for Books in the Bite, but we were communicating with Books in the Bite who was a participant in that's because they were registering through COA. So I think this is our loophole, correct?
Sam, I think this was one of our questions as we developed a Books in a Bite policy. The confidentiality piece of this was part of our conversation with THS. So if they register, it depends how they register for the program.
And they have to register through COA.
right, they would have to register through COA, COA would have the information, and then anything that they take out is our information.
But we would never share that.
Yeah, we were very clear with DHS that we wouldn't be sharing what materials they're taking.
Right, but we could then share that
I check in with.
they're still engaged in the program. And this, I didn't read this as violating.
I did not read this as violating. I
Okay,
just
then I
wanted
have
to also
questions on
confirm
this.
that that is true. Yeah, confidentially, we're not gonna tell anyone what materials people take out. I actually had no questions on finding a gift for friends of the library. Anyone else?
Wondering why gifts from friends, may be accepted by the director and will be acknowledged by the trustee.
I just tried to check with Sam, that's how that goes. That it goes to Sam and then, that Sam is the one who says, yes, we will accept this, and then the trustees, but it's not ours to.
It's not ours to, no, we're not accepting it.
And is it only from friends versus gifts? Is this headed from the friends
Right.
versus any gift?
So.
So put this as the trustees may reject or return a gift at their discretion.
I think the first question is, can Sam accept gifts, period, or is this only from the friends?
And so Sam has accepted gifts, donations to the library in the past.
And I feel like he should be able to, or the director should be able to, but this is written as the friend, gifts from the friends.
So I read it as the part that's the friends being different from the monetary gifts below 10,000.
Okay, so you do both?
I read it as the Friends being an organization separate to serve the library, different from individuals who are giving gifts above or below 10,000.
So the library accepts donations all the time. But anything 10,000 and above actually does go to the select board. You have to ask the for permission.
That's not what it said.
So
We've actually done the select board for less than that, 3,000.
I think it was because he's given so much that it eventually reached the point where it was over 1,000.
So this one may need to be bundled slightly differently because it is a monetary gift, a one-time chunk of 10,000 or that totals $10,000 in a certain time period.
Right.
Yeah,
The
that's
select board is not included in here.
Yeah.
And again, I might just be at the end of kind of my night, but I'm reading. It almost seems like it needs subcategories that gifts in general from the public, gifts from the friends, gifts from, and I have no problem with the director accepting gifts. But kind of clearly defining what levels it goes where is not clear to me from reading this. But if I'm wrong, please jump in.
No, and I'm also thinking we didn't talk about gifts from like entities, like what if IBM was like, you know, I mean, that we took, this feels like personal.
It's like gift of materials in there that
Also, we didn't specify individuals for any of these though.
Yeah.
Right. So it could be, yeah. So what's the purpose of that line about the friends? Yeah.
I
Okay.
think it's just something that someone added a long time ago for some reason. I'm sure there's a reason years ago.
But if we're just saying gifts in general, it's not an individual or entity, wouldn't friends be included in that? So I don't know that we need to specify friends, right?
That's what I'm wondering, because we need the distinction between trustees and friends, like, that was the only thing.
So I think the
Is that
money
like-
difference between, or does this go into trust fund or does this go into library operation?
Well, Mira, like when we started today, Mira noted that Friends gave us, or gave us or Sam, 4,000, right?
Mhm.
So
We're happy with that, we're fine. They're into the accounts, or Sam's fund.
Yeah, for programming and for using that.
no, is that considered a gift? Is that a gift?
So I guess, yeah.
If we take out this line, what changes?
I mean, it doesn't change anything.
Does it have tax implications for the Friends?
I don't
It's a
think
gift
so.
versus a,
Does this line actually belong under the friends line?
Probably
Policy?
it's been policy.
Sure.
I'm guessing at one point it was something the Friends did, and it was added because the Friends gave a larger gift or something. It was probably that store line, and just nobody remembers.
So these our policies are always flexible. If we wanted to take it out and then there was a reason why we needed to put it back in at some point, we could always amend the policy. That's a possibility. I'm not thinking it makes sense to them before thing, but I'm just, yeah.
I think it makes sense to move it to the Friends policy.
I mean, it does say that the friends are there to raise money and supplement financial support of the library.
Yeah.
Now, the friends subject to that $10,000 limit.
I'm not hearing a limit, I'm hearing that anything over $10,000 you have to do a gift agreement.
Right. So we're paid.
I think they do, because if we're talking it over time to accumulate.
Right.
They are,
How about that? I don't think overtime
I don't think that's the thing. I think when we did, so the 10,000 number is a number that when we were doing the building fundraising, that anyone who's giving 10,000 or more, we had to do a gift agreement for, correct? Chris?
I think so.
It was a flat, like, if it's above this or below this.
Well, $10,000 in like tax world is
It-
an issue.
Yeah.
And that may be where that number's coming from, but I'm just taking a stab at that.
Right, I think also that second sentence is the agreement should state how the funds can or cannot be used. So if someone says, here's $10,000, I want you to build a bar in the library, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's, you can give us some, we can say no.
Yep.
That, right, there's no, that's not. But we would, but.
So I think it sounds like people are comfortable with gifts from the friends if we're keeping it, moving into the friends policy, because that seems to float with everything else in there. What it's saying is that the director can accept that gift, and it's not typically how it happens, because it seems like it's going, I mean, like, did you know about the $4,000 before Mira announced that?
That was one of those.
Yeah, but did you know it was coming?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how it goes anyway. And then when they say we acknowledge it, is that just a thanks, Sarah, or is that a?
Yeah.
Okay, that's perfect.
It seems like a weird, it is a weird subject.
It is a weird way of saying it. I mean, we do acknowledge its receipt at our meetings, but we don't actually thank them.
Right.
for their-
Okay, but we're not ever denying it. What I'm reading is like, we're not denying that we're just, which is fine, and I think that's the collaborative, okay. But then the gift questions that are kind of open, if it is open, is if something has to go to the select board.
Yeah, we should have that in here.
Yeah.
Requires the gift agreement and what happens has to happen with the select board.
I just have to go to them and ask them if it's okay to accept this donation.
Okay, so requires the gift agreement and acceptance by the select board.
A motion by the select board to accept the gift,
And that motion has to pass.
which holds.
No, we're not giving you this big amount of money.
Yeah.
That's why it's very grateful for every donation.
And so again, I don't want to get into the weeds here, but you know, if a policy is supposed to kind of outline when we're all gone and the next group comes in.
Yeah.
So if $10,000 comes in, the select board says yes. This says the trustees reserve the right to review conditions, attach your gift, and reject or return a gift. Do we overrule the select board?
I think we talked about it before. I would think we could talk about it before.
So I think we need to say that we're gonna review it before it goes to the select board.
Yeah.
So the select board probably just that line goes last.
Yep.
In theory. We never get into procedure, which I know we're not supposed to do in policy, but just for clarity.
Okay, so I'm gonna move this up. Okay, so the problem is I have to send you above $10,000 again.
Okay.
I'm seeing it now. Monetary gift that exceeds $10,000 requires agreement, that paragraph. Then after that, the trustees reserve the right to review the conditions attached to any gift. The trustees may reject or return a gift at their discretion. Gifts that exceed $10,000 require approval by the select board. I love the opinion that we don't need the line about the gifts from very friends of our library, even though we're trying to work through our library policy, but I'm open for conversation on that. Okay. All right, any other questions?
Again, thank you guys for doing
We have to approve. There's a motion, we have to.
We have questions for them.
I motion to accept the financing gift, confidentiality of records, Friends of the Reuben Hoare Library policy and hours of operation policy as amended today. I second.
All in favor?
I,
All right, good.
Okay, I will update them and get them on the website. Yep. Great. Okay, you can really. Thank you, Sarah. That's awesome.
And then, is there any other old business?
I just got one thing about policies. We're doing the meeting room policy night, which is huge.
I actually haven't.
Yeah, we're all doing a lot of, the three of us are doing some research on that. But also whoever else, and I think I'm talking with you about it too, whoever else has any feedback about that, please send it our way. There's also a webinar in a couple weeks, I forget the date, that is put on by, I don't know, ALA, I think, about meeting room policy specifically, so I'll be attending that.
I do think it'd be good for us all to read the meeting room policy and think through any loopholes that might be.
Yeah, I'm not even sure that we have a really great one to start with, so I think we can look, everyone should look at it, but we don't have something that we would want to say, like, this is the, this,
Yeah.
it's like, it's very much in draft form at this point.
That's fine. And if we need another month to have it, so I do think we're getting into people borrowing again, so. And as part of that meeting room policy, I do think we need to revisit what the automated message is when people reserve a room, to make sure that it points to the policies and reminds people to, of the, also the age of the children in the library policy. One as well, just so those groups don't want to get thrown rampant. Sure. The other policy I think we need to move forward quickly is the books in the fight policy. Okay, so I know that when Wendy and I met with, after we met with EHS, that Amy had told West First books in a fight or local drop-off policy, and we opened the volunteer policy, and we were just making it a separate one.
What we're waiting on, I think we received was the COA, was the big piece was on Lori.
Yeah, so, Anthony helped us when he just said, send any volunteer who's doing this program to HR and they will get Corey, but so that was happening. And Anthony did help.
So if you have the policy that you did, I mean, I don't know if we're allowed to just change it to Littleton and they call it, or not, but I can, we can start with this anyway.
I'm also happy to sit with you because I was at the meeting.
Okay.
I know I just dated everything your way, because I didn't want to step on toes of that committee or subcommittee.
I do think it would be helpful to have, take a look at this policy and compare notes from what we took from that meeting.
Okay.
I'm happy to do that with you.
Sure.
Driveway. Last one.
We did that, that's even nicer.
Landscape.
And I do think this, so if Andy is unable to deliver, Amy said she reached out to EHS to see if they had anyone who like tax, senior tax workers who could do the deliveries in function. But if we need another outside of COA volunteer, then we need to make sure the policy gets in place ASAP. And that they get coordinated. Okay. So that one would be great if you could do that. Right, so now we're moving to new business.
Sorry, I did send the meeting room policy to staff and got feedback from them, just so you know that happened. Some of you don't ask them again. That's cool.
No, thank you for doing that. I know a lot of them have feedback, so it's great to hear it so we can improve our policy for what we need to hear and what we're experiencing. Right. So that'd be great. Actually really looking forward to hearing your feedback. All right, so moving into new business, we have, we've kind of touched on these things. I wanted to touch on the town budget situation. So Sam mentioned that I just wanted an update. Fiscal year 23, we put in the request for the additional 10 hours for an assistant director, and that will go to town meeting. And then for fiscal year 24, Sam has already drafted a budget for us to think about. The reason I put it on our September right now agenda is because the select board and FinCom are actually moving forward the deadline. So it used to be mid-November, it's now going to be sometime in October. They're going to finalize the dates on Monday's select board meeting. But I wanted to get our conversation started because everything's a month ahead of, so that we're prepared to turn in our documents not at the last minute. So Sam then took an extra step and drafted a budget for us to consider.
Yeah, so, really the increases, so 2 months ago, a couple months ago, Katrina and I had talked with Anthony. He had mentioned the idea of paying a custodian at the library and the senior center, sure. After my meeting with Anthony today, I asked him about that. He said, don't worry about it. He'll put it in his budget. So we'll see a custodian line in there, just ignore it. An increase that our budget by quite a bit. So I did create two budgets working without the custodian. So without the custodian line in there, we'd be asking for an increase of 41,000 next year. That's with the additional 40 hours for
Additional 10 hours.
the assistant, additional 10 hours for the assistant director. Also, I was looking to increase the hours of the processing clerk, that's TaxCo, helping support by right now she works about 12 hours, so increasing order to 15.
And the reason for the increase is,
Mostly because increased work. She bigger building, more books so TaxCo's role was to cover all of those barcode and, Helen really puts them into the system, but TaxCo did all the paper around it. And so it would increase the amount of time she would have to do that and everything that links the library and the other basis.
And she wants to.
And she will.
so like, we just have increased number of people coming through the door, increased number of materials,
Increased number of people, increased circulation, increased books around the shelves.
increased requests, and the whole network.
And do you have the numbers to back then? I know that like the numbers are so wonky with coming out of COVID and stuff like that. The circulation numbers look really high, but like the door count numbers don't look dramatically different from a couple years back. Just looking at like the director's report. And again, I'm in full support of the positions and want to advocate. I'm just thinking of questions that could arise, knowing that the town feels strapped. Is that like, or are there other arguments out there? Like, we had 3,200 people door count in August 22. We had 1,000 in August 18. Which is not a dramatic.
Yes, I was talking to Katrina about that actually. So numbers from a few years ago are artificially inflated because we were spending so much time advocating in the library. So we had more people coming in for programs and fundraising and supporting the library. So even numbers from a few years ago are, while they look high, they're artificially high because we had so many other people coming in for other things. Over the next 3 years is really what we're going to have to look at moving forward, because with COVID, with fundraising for the new library, with all the increases, it's not.
We definitely don't have apples to apples,
Right,
but I mean, in August 2019, it was 2,700. And in August 2018, it was 3,000. So somewhere in there is the average rate, and we're still above it for both of those numbers. And those are normal years. I don't think you can count August 2021 as normal.
No, and that's what I'm saying. If we pull this out, it's
But if you look at circulation, it's definitely higher.
circulation. I think is the better number because
I would say arguing for a position as like this is circulation and the amount of materials we are purchasing, like the sheer number of materials difference that she's working on.
I feel like that's it because that's the amount of circulation happening with virtually no more hours is a really overwhelming number if you like do that division out.
Well, and her position is materials, not people.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. So I think that it's, again, just looking at it realistically, to say that you had an extra 200 people and less than 200 people in isn't a super impressive number statistically, but when you look at the material increase, that's a huge percentage. And I just think again, like having kids do these meetings, the numbers and the pushback and what have you, that may be the better argument to make. And again, I'm in full support of that. I'm just saying that jumps out at me.
I do think with every budget and increase of an hour, whatever we do, we should be writing a memo to accompany it to explain why it's important to the library. And think those kind of statistics, I know, help tell this story. It's heard it. So I think we should write a memo and include some of these things to explain why this is.
And then the other increase was for Mdlc Assessment. So I'm not sure what it's going to be yet, but I know that it hasn't changed in the last 3 or 4 years. It kept it the same out, and after many meetings with the executive, we discussed how it's going to have to increase in the next year. The
What is
42,000.
the MDLC assessment? Can you just go to clear?
So Mdlc is the consortium we're a part of, and every year they charge us an assessment fee of around 36,000. I think it was $36,200 this past fiscal year. Last year was the same. The year before that was the same.
So
And
it's to be part of the consortium.
right, to be part of the consortium pays fee, and it goes towards supporting Mdlc staff and their payroll, supporting the integrated library system, which is the system, the software we use to check in and out books, all the stuff that goes with being part of the consortium.
And then delivery of books.
Delivery
Your library
books,
lawn.
all the good stuff, the ebooks, but all that stuff. So it hasn't changed in years, and it's based on a very complicated formula because every library, and there's 36 libraries in the consortium, each one is different sizes, different communities, different, so coming up with a formula that fits every library has been really tough. So all I know is that it will more than definitely increase. So I put $42,000 placeholder. I'm not sure it might be more than that, it might be less. Just
Do you have an idea of when it'll amount?
probably not until we'll absolutely need to know if that's working. That's how it's working. I did hire the director at Mdlc, so she's a previous director, so she
Just maybe it'll
knows.
tell you.
She knows. She knows what it's like, and so hopefully she'll get it much faster. But yeah, I'm not sure.
I mean, I would hope that they would get them ahead of the.
Oh, they try. That's
Okay.
the idea.
Maybe you can put in a call and answer when that's coming.
Yeah, and then the other thing that might sort of wrench into all this is the town is doing a compensation study, so this could all increase by,
So the compensation studies will increase our staff budgets.
Yeah.
It will not just libraries, it will increase town wide. All departments, basically, it's my understanding. And the reason being is they've done this compensation studies to make sure that we are competitive with towns so that we can retain staff, and attract good staff. Just making sure we're on par. So that is underway. I also don't know when it's coming down. Everything we need to be aware of, and I have mentioned this to multiple select board members and Anthony, is that when our staff salaries increase, it goes into the MAR and changes our MAR calculation. So that will also increase. So when I saw the custodian on the line, as one of our staff members, I was like, wait, I thought this was sharing with senior center. Why is it falling under our staff? Because that just increases our MAR and that increases the town's support of the library, the money they need to put in, so we make them harder. So I'm glad to hear that maybe it could fall in someone else's budget and we can still work that out. But yeah, that will be impacted. I think Sam, you just have to, as this conversation today comes up and you're talking to Anthony, remind him it will impact the MAR, and when we turn this in, I think we need to also remind them that this is the current situation, not the future, unless they give us the new information in time. It's a good question for them though.
I have a question. I know the 15,000 is the amount that we give to the town for materials. The 4,000, does that go also through the town? And that's line 66. I don't know if you're fine. Sorry, I'm looking at it. Under FY 24 total payroll materials MDLC expenses. Probably on the last page.
The second, this one. What you pointed to.
Yeah. I kind of have a follow up on that. Yeah, the bottom of the last page, the $4,000. Is that just kind of what you expect?
Yeah.
Okay. Remember that we have the 3%. I know we don't necessarily want to put it in here,
Oh,
but
I know this. So in the past, the trustees have given us $4,000 for program.
okay.
And that's just left in there.
Okay,
Yeah, so you can for
okay, but I just, as a reminder, just as we come into this year, that we do have money to help out with things that you want, and encourage you to think about where you might want to use that money, because it is the library's money, so. Yeah.
that.
Then I was hitting my questions for budget. Anyone else has budget questions for fiscal year 24? So I think depending on the next month and the timeline on Monday, we may see this again next month, or do we need to take a vote and say, we're good with this? Typically, do we even vote on this usually? And it's being signed. Is everyone comfortable with this or have questions? What I do want to do is make sure the whole board is reviewing it and aware of what the changes are and why, because we do need to be advocates. I want to follow up with members of the committee who are looking at salaries and things and just see what the timeline is for
So I spoke to Bill Schmidt, he said the 22nd.
September.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was mostly concerned about senior librarians and what they do, so he had wanted me to kind of give a breakdown of everything they do, what their educational requirements are.
He's making sure they're properly classified for the job. Okay. Great. Okay, so we're gonna move on. We'll keep looking at this, but I don't anticipate it changing much more except for moving. I do think we should write a memo in support of the reading course for if we're going to put in for it. All right. So the next thing is the 2022-23 scholarship. So the reason I wanted to talk about it now is I know we're way ahead of when we've been doing them, but I wanted to get your feedback on the timeline of when we should start students to make sure they can finish all the hours that we requested them, and then back that up to when the application due and when do we start actually advertising it. Sometimes I feel like we rush the advertising it and we don't really get it up there. Spread the word that it exists. So
I think having someone by November.
you want someone in the building working.
Yeah, November, December is a good time.
So we did remove everything then, because we have the previous deadline we had was the end of January.
Yeah, before that it was October.
Okay.
Yeah, we kind of, COVID kind of pushed everything back. But it was always around October, November time.
I would really like this, this has been something that's been on my list for a while, is I would really like this to be an online form and not a Word document. I mean, you can Word document too, but most people would be comfortable with the link. But I wasn't sure, I'm happy to kind of put it together, but I wasn't sure where to do that because my own personal Google Forms is not really the right place.
So we could probably use Jotform. Jotform is what I use for the readers advisors. So I can look into it, see if that's a possibility, and I'll share it.
Okay.
So if we're talking interviews in our November meeting, so they can
Yeah,
start
if
sometime November, December,
If we put the application out in October,
and do some real
right,
publicizing of it,
publicizing it, and then,
and using Susan Harvey, whatever, to
right,
expand
so,
that.
December is fine, November, December, around that time period, it's fine. They usually don't start until later anyway. It's good to give them more time to get into the group. It really depends on the candidate. Some
Well, yeah, I
candidates,
was talking to Declan, he was like, I was really busy in the spring, and he wasn't
Right.
sure he was gonna finish by the end of.
yeah, it's good.
And it's one thing if you're a junior, like you can come in for a few more months, but it's a
Yeah.
different thing if.
I've been here 8 years and each year it's been different.
Yeah.
Every kid.
What my goal with this conversation, guys, is to standardize it so we can predict it, and that Sam can predict it, and the students can
I
predict
think
it.
if we get it earlier in the fall, and then if the student starts in January and they,
They just fear for
they,
that.
they can figure out their own schedule as opposed to us doing it later and then they're scrambling.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's really, we let them decide their own schedule.
Okay.
and we're fine with that.
So as long as they're done by the end.
As long as they're done by when they're supposed to be done, we really only need them in the summer anyway, but having them just.
What I
in
don't want to
December-
do is someone be like,
Yeah,
finish it all before December. I think
Right.
we need to be very clear that there's expectations of hours in December.
so, but yeah, it's fine to have them start in December, because they'll kind of come in when they can, and that's exactly what we need them to do.
Okay.
Yes. And by the summer, that's when we really need.
So at our next meeting, we'll have figure out the application process and we'll start off.
Yeah, so October, so I would say that we should plan to, because if we're gonna do interviews at the November meeting, then we need to have the form ready and have the advertising going in at least mid-October.
Yeah, I think you have a ready to go hit stand up at next meeting. I'll have them. Yeah.
And I forget, do we have a stipulation that somebody cannot apply twice?
That was one of my questions.
Because we have juniors this year.
So, yes, so we need to decide the number of scholarships, the amount of the scholarships, what, are we allowing someone to do 2 years in a row, or do we want to open that up to another potential student? I mean, we could get a second one and multiple applicants and say, you've already had one.
Yeah, I don't think they should get it twice.
I don't know
The
which
only
way.
people that applied was last year, we had 2 people apply.
Well, I'm hoping if we can,
Hopefully that, yeah.
hoping if we do a better job advertising, giving more time to finish, so it feels feasible to them, and, also don't get stressed out. But
I mean, in pre-op, we're doing a college,
Mhm.
so it would be tough.
it would be Declan. Declan has been here before.
Yeah,
He'll probably volunteer.
he was volunteer anyway.
Yeah. So Declan's actually the NHS like library. He's like, I think he might be the president of NHS or something. He's up there, and then he's also the library person. So he will be here, guys. Your thoughts on having someone?
It's definitely, it would be the only one that would be fine with me.
So taking Declan out of the equation, having someone apply for a choice.
In the future, I don't know, they do a good job.
There's technically a benefit essentially to the library too, if they're already trained and know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I see it as like we're spreading opportunities for multiple scholarships for students, more students.
I guess it also depends on how many, if we're only gonna have 2 students every year, then it's not like there's 10 students who are applying and.
Make it priority goes to first time.
I mean, I think we should be clear that, yeah, we need to I think we should prioritize new applicants.
I mean, ultimately, it's up to the trustees, it doesn't have to be two.
I don't think we have to specify it, but I do think part of the discussion should be, if we're sitting here, a panel of 3 people and they all seem great and one's a repeat, should the other students have an opportunity for a scholarship?
Yeah, I don't think we need to make a rule about it that we put on the floor, but it'll be part of the conversation.
But it is open. I guess we need to make sure that.
We've
we're
never
open.
closed it to somebody
Right.
in part because we've only done seniors.
Right. Right.
Do we want to make it just juniors and seniors? I mean, what if sophomore comes in?
I think juniors and seniors. Okay.
But do we want to say that former recipients are still eligible? I don't want them to think, oh, I got it last year, so I can't apply again. I don't know. Or do we leave that up to them, and if they want to ask the question? they
I
ask the
think if they
question?
have the initiative to ask the question,
Yeah, I
great,
think
good
I'll
for
get
them. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a
I'd
great.
really rather.
Yeah, I guess the only thing, I think so, it should come from the student, and the student's taking initiative to say, may I apply again? And I think at that point, we say, you may apply again, but trustees may, it will be part of the discussion whether you can get it again.
Right.
But we would just have to say if they cannot apply again, that would have to be clear. But if we're not going after.
Yeah, I think that's okay. Yeah. We're gonna phrase it, okay. Okay, so we're gonna do an online application form. Maybe through dot forms. You're going to do it. We're going to have it ready to go for review. Ready to approve the form and publicize the scholarship after our next meeting. And we'll plan to interview in November. They start in December and finish by August 30th in 2023.
So a month is enough. Or less than a month is enough time to give the students to complete the application.
That was my next question. Should we?
Sam said, you said December would be okay for the interviews?
November. He said November.
I mean,
The other thing is, if you think the last year's form is fine, then, and the wording's not changing much. Just change the electronic format and get it ready to go now.
That's my plan, is to have it, I don't know if we talked, I don't know if we need to vote on it or not, but my plan is to work with Sam soon and get it ready.
We
so.
need to vote on the number of scholarships and the amount of the
Yes,
scholarships and know when our deadline. Not necessarily vote on when we're releasing, but I would like us to all agree.
Yeah.
So 2 applicants again, or another number,
it's fine.
2 scholarships.
Yeah, two
2
scholarships.
scholarships.
Yeah, 2 works, and I think more than 2 would be too much. And 1, so up to 2.
Up to 2, okay? And does anyone recall what this year's scholarship is? 500.
No, it's $2,000 each.
Oh, it's a lot. Each?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really-
We have a lot of hours, like, what's the hours?
150 hours.
That's great. I
Yeah,
know,
that's what
still,
we're
that's
working out
insane.
is, a little bit one.
What would be minimum?
$2,000.
Well, minimum wage is also going up until next year, so.
I have to go. All right, so
I'm fine with
$2,000.
$2,000, but I want that to be something like, I know we're trying to put a plan, but to consider that being higher in future years, it feels like we need to do that. Like, we're going,
Well, that's why I think we do it. We vote on it every
yes.
year, which is why I wanted to vote on the number of scholarships and agree on the amount of the scholarships and say, let's start getting the process.
Yeah, it's been 2,000 for the last 2 or 3 years now. It was 1,200 when I first started. So,
Any discussion on 2 scholarships, $2,000 each?
I would just like to suggest that we stay up to 2 scholarships, so that we don't have to take 2.
Agree.
Okay, please.
Okay. Any emotions?
I move that, for the Ray Grande scholarships, that we, offer up to 2 scholarships in the amount of $2,000 each.
Wait a second.
I don't know if you want to add something. So when Declan originally got the first scholarship, he wanted to know if any of his previous volunteer hours counted. So I don't know if you want to include something.
This is new.
This is new. It doesn't count.
I agree.
Does it need to be in the motion for that though?
No, probably in that application.
So motion's been made and seconded, all in favor? Okay. So up to 2 scholarships, $2,000 each. We did tell him last year that previous hours did not count for the scholarship.
Yeah, and they had that conversation.
I do appreciate his dedication to lettering.
Also, so one of the questions that came up with Declan, so everybody who asks for any kind of money from the library has to fill out a W-9. And so we asked them to fill out W-9s so that the town can check them. So as parents had some questions about the tax implications of that. So if maybe in the application we'll put something that there are no tax implications, then they're not being charged, not getting 1099. And that the money goes directly to the applicant. It's not going to the school. That was another question we got a lot of. Are we sending this money to the school? It's like, no, it goes to the applicant. It's up to them to do what they want to do with it. If they want to buy a car with it, or they want to use it to pay for tuition. It's up to them.
Are there insurance tax implications?
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked to the town treasurer and the assistant town treasurer.
Great.
And we've been there this year and never had anyone come and say. The IRS came last year.
Yeah, I have never heard of this. It's a good question. I'm glad they asked it. Know about it. All right, and I do, in that application, it will be stating the house is completed.
Yeah, I have that.
Okay, great. So moving to the next thing is, George is, if you recall last year, there's a lot of weeds that form our patio, and, George just needs some equipment to deal with them. Do you want to take this?
Yeah, so George, got in contact with, I think it's one of the schools, and the school guy already, we purchased this before. They sell it at, there's a place here in Wilton, Tato's, I don't remember the name of it. So yeah, so they sell this model there. I just want to know if it's okay with you guys if I go there with my credit card and buy it, or if he has only floor to use off the patio, and it's battery covered, so that I can store a green chair with one.
His plan is to store it in the janitor closet in a space for it with the outlet.
And where you, the library credit card, but then where does it, do we need to approve it coming out of the board account or something, or the MDT? Okay.
And this could fall under our trustees.
Yeah, or we come out of the book, we can also take it out of the building. Well, does that have to come out of the,
Sure where the building funds down. So let's do trustees funds into MDT. It can be part of our 3% budget for the year. We need to, okay.
And is this the amount, or is this the ballpark?
no, this is the amount, and it's tax, no, it's tax,
Because
we're tax exempt, so you have the amount.
Motion. I make a motion to approve $319.99 for a leaf blower.
Should we do up to?
Because
Just in case.
shipping and things, they need.
Well, he's gonna go pick it up locally.
Okay.
And have a tax exempt.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Let's do it up to.
Let's do it.
Okay,
A little bit.
350. I move that we approve up to $350 from where to, what I have to say?
Yeah.
Is there
There's money
money in the MMTT?
Definitely not money.
Okay, so from the trustee gift account, then not from one of our Barth accounts right now.
No, it's come from MMDT, which is the checking account.
Right?
Checking.
Doesn't say checking account, it says trustee gift. Is it the gift account?
Yeah, trust me.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Trustee gift account?
Yeah.
So I move that we approve up to $350 from the trustee gift account to buy a leaf blower.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Merry Christmas, George. Thank you for helping us. Sarah? Yeah.
Sure.
Every 1 second is, it does mean it's a big one.
That's for the month.
All right. Any other business? We're down to other business.
So I don't know if this is something you want to bring up, but, so I have several applicants for, this new library assistant job. And one of them is a spouse of another staff. So the town doesn't have a nepotism policy. I don't know if we want to create one. I mean, Jenna and Jean have worked here for years, never had a problem.
And you have other before that.
Maybe a mother before that. So,
Yeah.
I'm not saying we need one, just I'm gonna put it out there.
You're
Just
you're making us aware of the
Yeah.
situation. I do think we have examples of gentlemen working together here.
We're one of the few departments probably that has that, so.
And you checked with HR.
And I checked with HR and I don't know if this person has a job, it's just like.
I just clear lines of supervision. For me, like, you shouldn't be supervising anyone you're related to, you should be responsible for the reviews. I don't know if that's a policy versus an HR thing. I would be curious what the town has in place for that, because we believe they should have something kind of outlining that. And I think the other consideration is, scheduling shifts. And that should be at your discretion, but, you know, again, every situation is different. But I just know, like, in my agency, there's some care given to that so that you're not short. You know, if it's a husband and wife, for example, and a child's sick, do you lose 2 staff on the shift in one? And that's just purely from business model, so that may be something you want to consider, but I don't know that there needs to be a formal library policy about that piece. But I would be interested in seeing what the town says, and I do think that having something in writing that you don't supervise someone in your family.
Yeah, when I spoke to Michelle, she said, that was the first question she asked was, will this person have drug supervision?
That should be, I can tell you stories, but in my experience, that should be formally, if it's not in the town, then it should be formal somewhere, or considered to be formal somewhere.
So we're in charge of hiring you, you're in charge of hiring everyone else. I do want you to make sure you're hitting town policies on them.
Yeah, that's why I called Michelle.
I appreciate you for that outreach.
That's all.
That is a good update. We are at trustees update. I just shot these down, so I forgot we do this.
We had our policy meeting. We're gonna have another one scheduled, before next, we're gonna do one before each meeting. We get together. I got the access to the section on the town website for the policies and updates and stuff like that, so thank you for training me, Sam, on that. That's really convenient. So what that means is that I'm not storing them in my Google Drive anymore, which seems like not a great place to store them. So if anybody needs access to them, either we can probably get you access through the town, or you can ask me and I can download them or whatever, but that's where they are now. Chris and I are doing Trustee Connection, come up playing this one, right?
What date?
Yeah. 21st. Sometime in September. But no, that's a good point. It's on the 21st. It's on the 21st. And Susan said she would help with promoting it and things like that.
Perfect.
Yes. I attended a couple of the events of the United for Library Conference and signed up for a few more. There are a couple that are coming up the next few months. And my son did the board game night. He was one of 2 teams that showed up to do that. He and his friend Elsie did it. He went to the henna and did some take-home tracks. And as usual, I will already go and order too many books online and then come pick up a stack of this thing. That's what I'm up to.
All right.
Do you have a time for your connection?
4:30.
Do you have an end time? Is it
I
like
think
an
it's an
hour?
hour.
We said an hour.
Yeah.
You guys up to whoever's scheduling time. And does anyone remember who's on November?
Me.
I think it's up there.
Oh, what about October? That's cool.
I mean October. Okay. Apparently I want it all to go. Which it will.
The blank.
Okay. Wendy, why don't you go?
I attended the pollinator event that was organized by Helen. That was really cool for the Mira. Butterflies. Sorry. But they are pollinators, so that's true. Which is exciting and very cool. And did not leave with the monarch butterfly, despite just really kind of wanting to try that at home. I attended a couple of the online conferences and just found them really interesting. And then one in particular talked about burnout about librarians, especially through the pandemic, and talked about the numbers and, you know, when you're looking at like door counts and things like that, remembering that in any given day, there's 5 people here going through that many people. It was just a nice perspective to kind of keep in mind. I did some reading. I created note cards. Thank you, Sam, partnered with me on this. They gave me a great picture of the library, and I meant to bring them tonight, but didn't, but I'm going to leave them up in the mailboxes. So if anyone is writing me thank you to someone or doing whatever else to know how to just live in our library on the front. So those are available for trustees or anyone from library staff to use. I partnered with Sarah, with friends, and dropped books off at where the words from the donations that the library was not needing. And coordinated with Sarah, who's going to be pulling books and games and puzzle things to support Parks and Rec as they get their new programming up and running. And so we'll be dropping those off monthly. We also dropped off games and puzzles on behalf of the trustees to Parks and Rec to support their programming, getting set up with the teaching center. We dropped off some cookies and thank yous to all the other departments who supported Sam and the library through the construction pieces, and did kind of go once around town with that. Talked with conservation to open up and talk about Exceeding the Hill, which we talked about, and then a really productive meeting with Sam and Katrina and the Council on Aging specific to books of the night, and suggestions for policy to lead to consistency with the COA policy and town policy and safety for volunteers, and to make sure that moving forward, library volunteers who are part of the program are logging their hours, their mileage, and making sure that that's all stuff that we're able to kind of track and make sure that the program remains sustainable and viable. I'd be happy to send it over, yeah.
I was trying to figure out where to go. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Chris.
I work in the policy committee with Sarah and Kimberly. I am stealing Kimberly's report because I also am doing the trustee connections with her. I continue to sign off on credit card bills and payroll and anything that Susan sends me to sign off on. This second one. So we have, no?
Okay. Did she just send it randomly? Okay.
I think I signed all of them. So
I know you sign all of them, but I think we need two signers.
Feels
She was
like-
like panicked. She's like, reminder.
Yeah, I haven't done it in a long time.
What's the sister?
Maybe Mark's doing.
He signs up on nothing.
That's probably it.
We should figure out who's the signer.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
That's nice.
This is embarrassing.
Yeah, Wendy's.
Oh, that's Wendy. Okay, Wendy's signing.
Like, it's not signing, sorry.
Yeah.
That's me.
That's you. Okay, so we do have to sign. Great.
So yes, the monarch butterfly presentation is very interesting. We participated in summer reading and the girls enjoyed it, and Lorelai got her 100-hour t-shirt, so that was good. And that's it.
I'm on the policy review committee. I participated in the adult summer reading. Like I said, I went over the number of hours. And I actually won a prize. I went on a chocolate.
Excellent.
Good, right. Congratulations. All right. So I did a number of the same things you guys just mentioned. I'm gonna skip them. Sam and I have been having regular chair director meetings, which I think have been great, and I really appreciate putting them on the calendar. They've been helpful to keep everything in line. The other things I've been working on is working with the town and LELD on the EV charger, starting that out, making the plan of how to separate our meters, continuing to track the HVAC, electricity usage, trying to improve it as much as we can. Again, Sam, you've been really helpful getting those hobo monitors and the data to me, so I really appreciate that. I think my next step there is to share the data we've collected with Dave Riley, so we can just keep going there. I did write to the select board to advocate for a facilities manager for our town in the November special town meeting, outlining all the ways in which having one would be useful, not only for continuing to evaluate sustained evaluation of the utilities here and maintaining this building, but also why getting a person early into the system for the senior center, where that would actually help with translating construction speak to EHS speech in that space, just understanding those words and what the implications of choices are on actual usage of the building. So I'm working with Anthony and select board members and other departments, try to advocate for that. Again, I think this will be discussed at Monday's select board meeting with FinCom, so I'm going to try to show up to that. And then Sarah Rombacher and I went through the outstanding pledges for the fundraising. We're actually really close to finishing up the pledge drive. We have to have it closed at the end of this calendar year. So we wrote an email reminding people of anyone who had outstanding pledges. We're sending it hopefully this week. And then we'll send another one again in December. Just trying to, we don't want to like get people with you owe this whole huge amount in December. Like if we can spread it out, just remind them so we can drop more in. But it's not that many left. Like we're really good and closing that out, which is great. And then as part of that, our donor wall actually needs to be updated and blocks need to be added. So she and I have to go through that list and figure out how many blocks and get them names correct and confirm the names, and then also get them ordered and then affixed to the wall. So it's kind of amazing when you're done a wall can expand 1 year into a building. It's great. There's probably more. I also did the United Library thing. I saw that the trustee orientation, we're actually late for the trustees orientation, and I will be joining it simply because my trustee orientation was 100% COVID in the first 2020 years. So I'm gonna get educated.
I'm going to do the tour.
And at very least, come and like meet other trustees and just engage again. So I think I'm excited.
That'll be there as well. Yeah, and we were talking to you about possibly making some connections with other trusts, other trusts,
Procedures,
yeah. Just to kind of figure out, like, it'd be good to bounce ideas off people and say, how do you deal with this? How do you deal with that? Too. So that would be a good time to talk to some other people.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Or at least start making connections where we can talk. So, and then, yeah, the staff meeting. Yeah, great.
Right, yeah, so on the 20th, we're closing from 10 to 1 is the first time we're doing that. So yeah, it's just, excited to do that. I started advertising, I put it in Browse, put it on the TV screen, we're gonna put it on the website tomorrow and start advertising on Facebook.
I definitely saw the browse and saw some of those, so it's nice to see it. Other things. And, is there anything you need from us for this staff meeting?
No. So, oh, they want food.
I was gonna say donuts. They need donuts.
So, yeah, if I can use credit card pricing, that'd be great. Other than that,
Do we need to approve money for that, or do you have funds?
well, I would take it out of MFPT, so if you want to approve for up to a certain amount
To be used from that account.
to be used from that.
How much do you want?
It's been so long since we had a staff meeting.
You haven't said them in a while.
Up to $150, yes. Is that much?
I move that we approve up to $150 from trustee gift account
Trustee gift.
for staff meeting food.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
It's to 150.
And Jenna's leaving, but she does not want a party, so, her mom got a card, wants to sign a card, I think, to be in Jane's mailbox. Other than that, Jenna's out sick, so she's not able to right now, she'll be back.
Is the card there? When's the card? Is the card there now?
Thank you. Okay, it's great.
And we're not.
You can call all of this. She has a song.
I really hate her shooting your message. Because she would tell. All right, we'll acknowledge. Okay. At this point, we are adjournment. And our next meeting is October 13th, 2022. I move to adjourn. Second. All in favor? See you next month. Before I forget.
Thank you.